Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I'm William Hindman, and I'm your host, and this is Just Force 911, where we look at how our public officials do their job, or they screw it up. Hey, guys, this one comes to us from Southern Draw Law. If you would, please go over to his channel, subscribe to him, check him out. He has a lot of good videos. Hit his subscribe, or his share and like, help out his algorithms. If you would. And then also, while you're here, please hit my subscribe. We're trying to get to 3,300, and you guys are making it happen. I appreciate so much for you guys doing that. Thank you so much. Also, the bell icon lets you know when I put out a new video. The thumbs up, if you would. The like and share helps my algorithms. And leave me a comment because I love reading comments. I'm the only one here, so it's my job. This one, the Southern Draw Law is talking about transparency and police departments all over the country, but mainly here in Arizona. You know, it bothers me that almost every police department uses the slogan, protect and serve. Okay? And the problem with that is that it's become they're protecting themselves and serving themselves, not the public. These are public servants. They're hired by us. They're guarded by the bootlickers, the Karens and Darrens out there that say, oh, the cops can't do anything wrong. It's because of all the bad people, that they're so mean and evil. No. The problem you have is things like plea. Now, in case you don't know what plea is a union in Phoenix, Arizona that covers the police department for Phoenix. A joke at best. They couldn't find their ass with both hands if they were sitting on them. That's how screwed up they are. I got to be careful what I say so I don't get myself in trouble. The black gentleman that was deaf, that got beat up by the two officers, that lied about it, plea helped back them up because they're just doing their job. It's a tough job. Well, careful now. Oh, but it's so unsafe. Not according to OSHA. According to OSHA, you're not even the top 50, pal. Firefighters are above you guys for danger. But, you know, we protect and serve ourselves, and that's what you guys do. That's what that blue, thin thug gang line thing is all about. You know, and you have this blue shield from the from plea, the union. It's a joke, unfortunately, and the joke is on the citizens of Arizona. The millions and millions and millions of dollars that we have put out for Sheriff Joe's jerk-off playground down there in the sheriff's department when he was running stuff, to the, you know, lawsuits from, I can't even begin to name all the chiefs they've had lately. You know, you had Mrs. Williams. You had, you know, it's ridiculous. It's like a pony show, a dog a pony show. It's a joke. And we're the ones that are being laughed at by the rest of the country and by the police departments. They do what they want. Look at Mesa. Mesa is so far out of control, it's not even funny. You think Phoenix is bad? That's Mormon control over there. And it's a joke. But anyway, let's check out Southern Draw Law, and you guys tell me what you think, all right? Maybe I'm all wet. Who knows?
I thought it might be fun to get on any standard AI platform, and I asked the computer machine, what are the biggest problems facing law enforcement in 2025? Do you think you'll be surprised at the answers? Let's talk about it on the other side. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. So, as I said, I was just kind of brainstorming, thinking about things that I could talk about on the channel. And I thought, wonder what AI thinks are the major problems facing the institution of law enforcement in the United States. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll just ask it. And wouldn't you know it, the number one thing that it listed is community trust and accountability. And I thought, well, that's a pretty interesting topic. It's basically what we talk about in every video, every time we post something on this channel. So I just asked it one more question for clarification. And I said, tell me more about number one. And this is the breakdown it gave me of the subset of topics under community trust and accountability. Community trust remains one of the most critical challenges for law enforcement in 2025. Several key factors contribute to this. And it's number one and number two that I really want to talk about. Number one, despite efforts at reform, cases of excessive force, wrongful arrests, and officer misconduct continue to erode public confidence. High-profile incidents still generate national attention, sparking protests and calls for increased accountability.
Okay, now, guys, what he's talking about is excessive force. Using a taser when it's not needed, using your service weapon when it's not needed, wrongful arrest, arresting somebody for DWI that's not drunk or not under, drugs, using the some of them like hindering the police in their duties. What's one of the fancy ones? What is it? I don't remember. Anyway, it's just stuff like that. And then when you get caught doing it, even though it's high profile, you go, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. Don't you believe me? Who are you going to believe, me or the video? Your eyes will lie to you. Yeah, you wouldn't, would you?
And number two, which will be the subject of today's lesson, kids, is lack of transparency. So I was just scrolling the interwebs and I was just looking around and I saw a story from our friends over at ABC News 15, which I'm always inclined to click on because I always feel like I'm going to get an opportunity to see Dave Biscobing climb with both feet in the asshole of some police department. But unfortunately, that's not what happened in this particular case, but we got to watch another investigative report, and it really was eye-opening, and it probably will not be a shock to you, but we're going to hear a story about how police departments in Arizona have coupled with their favorite bootlicking, law and order loving lawmakers and created and passed legislation that allows the police departments to justify the charging of exorbitant fees for body camera footage. So let's go out to ABC News 15 and listen to the story about this young lady's harrowing tale of being unlawfully arrested for disorderly conduct and then having to pay out the wazoo for the body cam footage. Let's check it out.
Now, watch all this that's going on because Avondale's going to send her a bill for $1,300, and the News 15 is going to step in for this young lady and go, "How do you justify $1,300?" Oh, we made a mistake. It was only $425. That's almost $1,000 difference, people. 13 something to 14 and a quarter, or to 4 and a quarter. They do this crap just to get it so you won't bother them. Now, remember, when you got a video, body cam video, that is public information. That's not private. That's public information. And they're trying to make it as hard as they can for you to get it so you won't go through with your lawsuit, so you won't hold them accountable.
In Arizona, you can get copies of police body cam video, but you also can be charged up to $46 per hour for footage reviewed for release. And it may take months or years to receive that video.
Now, like in Phoenix, most of your stuff comes back blurred. Now, why do they do that? Well, because that way you can't use it in court. You can't use it on the videos that you put on the on YouTube because it's blurred. Okay, you know, I can understand if faces are blurred, if license plates are blurred, if names on buildings or addresses are blurred, but you don't blur the whole thing. You know, you guys, these cops say they want transparency, you know, that they can earn our trust. When are you going to start? You haven't been doing it. You haven't started doing it yet. When's it going to start? When are you going to start being, you know, accountable? Mesa, this goes for you too. When are you clowns going to start becoming accountable? It hasn't started yet.
That can frustrate, even deter people who want answers about how officers investigate a crime or how they treat people under arrest.
And this one's pretty gnarly.
Priya DuPont shows us her scars from multiple surgeries.
I was injured from the handcuffs.
Priya has filed a notice of claim against Avondale police after she called 911 for a domestic violence situation in 2023. She claims she was improperly arrested and injured by officers.
You're under arrest for disorderly conduct.
Just days later, the disorderly conduct case against her was dismissed.
Yeah, that was it. Disorderly charge. Now, I've been saying for the last months or several months that if an officer charges you with a crime, dishonorably discharge, whatever it may be, okay, and then it gets kicked out, thrown out, and not charged on you, meaning it run through the system, then it goes back on the officer, and they have to deal with it, and not just write it off. It's their responsibility to take the brunt of what they wrote, because these cops are so dirty and so nasty anymore that they will make stuff up just to arrest you, knowing it's going to get thrown out. Now, how can I say that? Because I've seen it on the videos coming out of the mouth of officers. Meaning, hey, boss, I got this over here. This is going on. I can charge him with it, but I don't think it'll stick. Okay, I'll go ahead and charge him with it. Okay, they know it's not going to stick. You could be walking down the street. A cop could stop you and charge you with whatever he wants to. That's a fact. Now, will it stick or not? That's yet to be seen. So we need a law to say that if you're charged by an officer and it gets thrown out or dismissed, it goes back on the officer. And watch this crap stop. It's just like taking their pension fund money. When there's a lawsuit, why are taxpayers paying for it? Well, it's the insurance company's paying it off. Okay, well, the insurance company has to be paid. We're still paying for that. But when the lawsuit hits, why are we paying for it? Why doesn't it come out of the pension funds of these scumbag cops? You guys want to be transparent? Be transparent. You want to be above board? Be above board. You haven't so far.
I knew my rights and that I didn't necessarily do anything wrong. And so I needed actual proof from their side too.
It really hurts.
So just as an initial impression, note that Miss Priya is standing just outside what appears to be the entryway to an apartment building, which means that that's not public. That's private. That would be an apartment building in private, not in public. Now, she's in a common area, but My guess is, and I'm speculating here, my guess is she was advised to go outside, because when you call for a domestic, the first thing the police are going to do when they arrive is generally separate the parties if they're not already separated. So if one of the parties was inside, they would have probably told her to go outside, or vice versa. But we find Miss Priya standing outside in this news story. And then we observe an officer grab her by the wrist and say, "You're under arrest for disorderly conduct." Now, in fairness to the Avondale police officers, I don't know whether she was outside cussing up a storm or whatever, but I feel like they've lost the benefit of the doubt at this point. So I'm going to just assume that she was inside her house and she said something to the police that they didn't like. They knew they couldn't arrest her for domestic, so they arrested her for disorderly conduct. But nevertheless, in the process of getting arrested, she gets severely injured. And you could see there she was complaining about her wrists being compressed and hurting in the process of being handcuffed and stuffed in the back of the car.
And keep in mind, cops don't care. Even though they're responsible for you, they could care less. Now, how do we know that? One night, on a tip, young lady's driving her pickup truck and gets pulled over by the police. She supposedly has a gun. She doesn't have a gun. They handcuff her and put her in the back of the car, sitting on the railroad tracks. And here comes a train. Why didn't you move the car? I couldn't get to it in time. Why'd you park the car on the tracks? Oh, I didn't realize it was. You didn't realize you put the car on the tracks. That makes you a moron. And luckily, the young lady didn't get killed. She got hurt. There was a lawsuit. Taxpayers had to pay because of incompetent officers. Lowlife, scumbag, moron officers. You got to remember, most of these officers have an IQ of less than 15. That's the reason they do this. They don't have the mental capacity to know what the hell they're doing. And that's not all of them. That's just a lot of them. If you graduate high school, in 6 weeks you can be a cop and carry a gun. I know people shouldn't even have a gun. They shouldn't be within 25 feet of a gun. I'm from a small town. We knew the sheriff deputies because they went to high school with us. Half of them should not be carrying a weapon because they're mentally unstable. Just saying the way it is.
And so she goes about trying to get the body cam so that she can file a claim and sue the police department. And this is what happens.
I knew my rights and that I didn't necessarily do anything wrong. And so I needed actual proof from their side too.
It really hurts.
So Priya made multiple public records requests for videos, reports, and an internal affairs investigation. She says she paid for and received some body cam videos. Then this invoice came for another one of her requests. Sticker shock, $1,300 total, including for 38 videos at $35 each.
This is ridiculous because you can't pick how many officers are going to respond and how many body cam footages they're going to be there. Like, it should just be a flat fee. It's crazy.
In 2023, the Arizona legislature passed a law allowing fees up to $46 per video hour reviewed for public records requests that seek police video footage. Two Valley police chiefs testified the fees would help them hire more people to process videos for release.
We weren't expecting the influx of requests that we had, also not knowing the time that it would take for redactions.
We spend about 370 hours per month on body-worn camera footage.
Some agencies like Mesa now charge the full $46 an hour, but others don't. Phoenix still charges a flat $4 for video for an entire case.
We need fewer barriers to timely access to important records, not more barriers.
Gunita Singh with the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press has been involved in several court cases in other states involving access to police records.
Allowing the state to charge such exorbitant amounts of money for editing that kind of footage, it really does threaten public access to crucial government records because those fees can obviously serve as a deterrent.
Rules do vary across the country. The ABC 15 investigators found in Ohio a new law will allow departments to charge up to $75 an hour to redact police video, with a max charge of $750. In Boston, the first 2 hours of staff time to process video requests are free. After that, it's charged at $25 an hour. For Texas police agencies, there's a $10 fee plus $1 per minute of actual footage, so $60 an hour. But some agencies do provide police body cam video for free, including one of the largest, Chicago Police.
The power that we grant police officers in our society is extraordinary. And so the transparency that surrounds law enforcement should be equally powerful, right?
The ABC 15 investigators asked Avondale Police about Priya's bill. They responded they made an error in their calculations, saying the correct amount should be $245, not $1,300, because instead of 38 body camera videos, there were only 7.
Now, oops, we made a mistake. Yeah, but you wouldn't have said anything if they hadn't asked you about it. That's the kind of corruption that we're talking about police departments. You know, you have bad cops, bad deputies, bad sheriffs, bad police chiefs. Look at the one in Surprise. His guys arrested a young lady for speaking out at a city council meeting. He put a video out saying, yep, it was justified, when he knew damn well it wasn't justified. He stomped on her rights. And then he retires or resigns a few days later so he doesn't get in trouble. Well, the nice thing about a federal lawsuit, if you resign, it doesn't matter. It goes after you anyway. It follows you. Thank goodness. But they resign, that way they don't get fired, and they can go down the street and get a job somewhere else. So, yeah, way to go. Matter of fact, the Phoenix Police Department has at least 11 Brady List officers that work for them. Yeah, that's really transparent. Yeah, a bunch of liars. Wow.
The department promised to issue a new invoice, but Priya says her trust, like her wrists, will never be the same.
They're supposed to be protecting the community. And it's like you don't feel protected. It feels like they're hiding something.
Avondale Police declined to comment about Priya's civil rights complaint. There is an ongoing legal claim. I'm senior investigator Melissa Blasius, ABC 15, Arizona.
She's right on the money with, you call them to help you because you're in a domestic violence situation. And all of a sudden, you're a suspect in a disorderly conduct inside your house or barely outside your house in the entryway or breezeway. So that's the first thing. But let's just create in our minds a bureaucrat that doesn't exist who might sit down and have a playful cross-examination of this situation. And let's ask some fun questions for clarification. So let me get this straight. There's a law in the books that says that people are entitled to these recordings because it's public information. You as the police department have taken the position that you have a duty to protect the privacy of certain individuals who may be involved in the videos. Is that right? So just that's the purpose of redacting, right? So your argument is that you need more police officers to sit down and comb through this because, heaven forbid, you accidentally release some image of somebody who was in public, who doesn't have an expectation of privacy, who might have been caught on your officer's body cam. Let's assume for a second that maybe there's somebody who actually has an expectation of privacy and you were inside their home or something, and you got to comb through the officer's body cam for a period of time. I just want to make sure that I understand this. Your duty to protect the privacy of the other people involved has nothing to do with the person who's asking for the information, right? The people whose privacy you're ostensibly protecting by redacting this information before you give it to the person who's requesting it are people who are completely uninvolved in this particular case, right? So what you're saying is that the person who's entitled under the law to receive this information has to pay for you to protect the privacy of somebody who hasn't requested the information. Am I hearing that correctly? Now, I think we can agree that it makes a little more sense in the case of who's not a party, like maybe somebody who wasn't arrested. But in the case of Miss Priya here, she was actually arrested. She's the person who's been ostensibly wronged here, who plans to bring suit. And you want the public to believe that the $1,300 barrier that you created in order to protect somebody not involved who wasn't harmed, the cost of that burden should fall on her. So in addition to being abused by the police, and in addition to being injured by the police, and in addition to having to have multiple surgeries to repair the nerve and ligament damage that happened as a result of being falsely arrested inside her home, she has to pay for the privacy protection of somebody who probably doesn't even know they're on camera. Is that what you're saying? See, that's why cross-examination is so important. Because when you make people listen to questions and make them answer, it becomes obvious that it's stupid, that the ideas are obnoxious. And this is further evidence that there is no political affiliation anymore where certain principles are observed by particular parties. For instance, it used to be the case that your right-leaning conservative people were all in favor of less government, less taxes, less regulation, all that stuff. In today's right-leaning, law and order, bootlicking Republican Party, who I refuse to call conservatives, they are completely fine with expanding the government. What they really worship is power and bureaucracy. They don't really care about conservative principles anymore because conservative principles dictate that you're better off with a smaller government. But they're okay because they're in control of the government. Arizona's a red state. Tennessee's a red state. Texas is a red state. They love all this big law and order government because it ensures a full salary job for somebody to sit here and comb through these videos under the guise that it's somehow a service to the public. So the public taxpayer pays for the body cam. The public taxpayer pays for the salary. And then you charge these people under the excuse that you're going to use that money to try to aid in the cost of adding this additional person. So this additional person just does more and more work, which creates additional need, and more police conduct keeps happening because you're not being held accountable for it. And that leads to more public outcry for body cam, which leads to higher incidents of people asking for the camera footage, which leads to this cycle where we keep expanding the law and order government. It's antithetical to every single principle of small government and conservatism, every one of them. So I don't know what you stand for anymore, Republicans. I just don't know. I am completely allergic to nearly everything that looks like the modern Republican Party. It's actually disgusting. And we wonder why nobody trusts the police anymore. In closing, the line of demarcation anymore that separates political parties. Everyone is worshiping at the foot of the golden calf that is government bureaucracy. It used to be that these progressives were the ones pushing for transparency, reform, all that stuff, but they were also the ones that loved big government. So the classic liberal argument for these people to monitor the cameras would not be to pass the cost off onto the person who would be harmed and would need the footage. It would be to create a new position, but they're blended now. And the people that love the law and order and the bootlicking types, they want to use that as a way to satisfy the people who want more and more big government while simultaneously punishing the people who are asking for the videos. So it's like, okay, we're going to give you your transparency, but it's going to cost you $30. What do you think the chances are that they reduced that bill from $1,300 to $245 if ABC News 15 hadn't swung the enormous pendulum that exists between the legs of Dave Biscobing at them? She would have been sitting on a $1,300 bill. That's what would happen, in my estimation. And we wonder why there's an erosion of public trust. People don't trust the police because the taxpayer funds the body cams. The reformers ask for transparency. Everybody agrees on a bipartisan basis that we need a position for somebody to review this. And then the law and order types and the bootlicking wing of the Republican Party go to the legislature and say, well, we need to be able to charge more money. We're spending all these resources, blah, 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 blah. And this person, to protect privacy of somebody who probably doesn't even know they're on camera, has to foot the bill when they're the ones harmed. It's insult to injury. If you're ever going to fix this, it has to be by first recognizing that your image in the public is dying. It is dying a slow and miserable death. Did you know that they said that the Phoenix PD only charges $4 for their videos? Why? Because it don't take very damn long to put a blur over the entire video and export a copy of it, burn it, and send it out to the person. That's why. So this is why it's all the more important that you film your own interactions with the police. And that won't answer all the questions, because a lot of people who are, especially people who are in the camp of back the blue till it happens to you, have no idea this is coming. They don't know to film their interaction with the police. They trust the police. They submit to the authority of the police. They comply until they die. They don't know. They call the police for help. They're not thinking about filming this. They don't realize till they're in the middle of it, when they can't reach for their phone because it might be a deadly weapon, that they need to film. And so the only record that they can rely on is the body cam, which conveniently is always available when it's time to use it for prosecution, or when it's time to use it to put out a critical incident brief where they feel like they're completely justified in killing somebody. But it's an enormous burden when somebody needs it because they've filed a notice of claim to sue the police department. Anyway, I thought this was an interesting story. I thought you guys might find it useful. I hope you got something from it. I have started, as of today, a community on Substack. There'll be more details coming out about it in the near future, but Substack is a great way to blog, and it's an awesome way to stay in touch with people through an email list and that kind of thing. So I've decided to do a Substack community. It will be free to join the Substack community. There will be paid tiers. I haven't decided what those are going to be yet, because I do get a lot of people asking me if they can support me in some way. Substack just seems like a great growing platform that is a way to embed the YouTube videos and can offer a lot of tools and resources for a community like the one I'm trying to grow here. So in the meantime, if you'd like to support the Southern Draw Law channel monetarily until I get those membership sites set up and running, I'll leave my Venmo and PayPal links both here on the screen as well as in the description. I'll leave a link to the Substack community in the description of this video. Please go over and sign up for the Substack newsletter. I don't know how much content I'll be posting right away, but it will be coming shortly. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Check out some of the other videos on the channel. Leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police unless you want to pay $1,300 for the ones they filmed, and keep your evidence to yourself.
You notice how more and more people are telling you to record the police because you can't trust them? I wouldn't, if I was on fire, I wouldn't call the police. You can't trust them to do their job. And unfortunately, that's the way it is today. So anyway, guys, remember, record the police because they're not your friends. Be safe, and until the next one.